How'd you do? Nice people, fine people, review people. Yes, yes, I've met some very nice people. Some very, very, very nice people. But you meet the nicest people in your dreams.
Just minutes from downtown Atlanta, a more than century-old community is struggling to survive. Crime, prostitution, and drugs have overrun this area of the city known as Cabbagetown. But it was a community that started with a lot of hope centered around a prosperous mill. Frederick Taylor has put together a new documentary film about the history of this unique community, and we welcome him to Good Day Atlanta this morning. Frederick, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
How did you get interested in focusing on Cabbagetown?
Well, actually, it's a really funny story. I had a roommate about 3 years ago whom had a roommate when he was in college at Emory University that did a thesis on it, and he spent a lot of time talking about it. And the more he talked about it, the more I thought, well, gee, this would make a really interesting documentary. And at the time, we were all working together in production. And we were looking for something to do, basically. We were looking for something that was interesting, that was a documentary that we could get a grant money for and be able to produce and get on Georgia Public Television. And Cabbagetown ended up being that.
And it all happened for you.
Yes, it did. It took 3 years. That was, the decision was made in April of 1992. And of course, now it is April 1995. So it took some time.
This negative image that we associate with Cabbagetown, is it fair?
I would have to say no. And it's very strange about negative images. Usually people that have negative images of things have them from afar. They're sort of, it's sort of armchair philosophy a little bit.
Hearsay and,
yes,
and not
things
really
that they've
knowing.
heard. Exactly.
Yeah.
You really have to explore a community to find out its history, where it's come from, why it's in the position that it's in. And that goes not only for Cabbagetown, but Auburn Avenue, which is actually ironically adjacent to Cabbagetown. It's a stone's throw, as they say. You can literally walk from one to the other. So both areas actually interest me a lot. And one of the things that I wanted to do was have a documentary that sort of bridged that gap for people, what the community is about.
We have a clip. Let's take a look.
When a theater opened in downtown Atlanta, the mill bought and converted a church to provide entertainment for the workers. While providing for the basic needs of the mill workers, this paternalism on the part of the mill established and fostered a dependence that ultimately contributed to economic disaster when the mill closed. 1954. The Fulton Bag and Cotton Mill is sold, and this represents the beginning of the end for the business and begins the decline of the community as well.
A decline that has not been turned around?
No. It's a community that actually is still declining. What's happening now is that a lot of the residents that are there are, I guess categorically, to a certain extent, being forced out a little bit. The area is being gentrified. People are coming in, they're buying the homes, they're fixing them up, and the people that have lived there for several years or several generations are sort of stuck. Where do they go? What do they do? It's sort of the same syndrome we have with Techwood Homes as well. Progress is a good thing, but at the same time, you sort of have to be aware or sensitive about the people that are indigenous to certain areas as well.
All right, we can find out more about Cabbagetown and its history. The film that Frederick Taylor has put together is A History of Cabbagetown. It will air Monday night on GPTV, that's Channel 8, beginning at 11 p.m. Still ahead on Good Day Atlanta in our news this morning.
This is Tomorrowpictures.TV.